Secret rituals at the heart of the Vatican, the dark side of the Church revealed. Ancient documents point to hidden ceremonies kept in secret, away from the public eye. What else are they hiding? Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and share it with your friends, so everyone can discover what lies behind the closed doors of the Vatican. The Vatican is a fortress of secrets. In the silent corridors, every priest and every employee seems to hold a story they will never share. After years of work, I eventually gained rare access to the so-called Archive Sotto, a restricted section within the secret archive itself. This place is a legend among us. It is said to hold documents that reveal dark details about the Church's past, prohibited treaties, documents about ancient rituals, and even letters from exorcists containing accounts of possessions that defy any explanation. I was prepared for my first visit to the Archive Sotto. That day, my co-workers avoided looking me in the eyes, as if they knew I was about to discover something that would change my life forever. When I finally entered, I felt a strange weight in the air. It was as if the environment was filled with an ancient, dense energy, something that could not be easily explained. As I approached the old shelves, my fingers touched dusty, hard-covered books, some written in Latin and others in languages I did not immediately recognize. I felt like I was stepping into forbidden territory. The first thing I found was a volume titled Codex Serpentis. The title caught my attention immediately. I opened it carefully, feeling the stiff leather of the old cover and observing the letters worn by time. The content spoke of a hidden order within the Vatican, a secret fraternity that had supposedly formed centuries ago, dedicated to preserving the truth about the sacred and the profane. As I turned the pages, one name appeared repeatedly: Fraternitas Serpentinus, or the Brotherhood of the Serpent. Apparently, this fraternity believed that the true power of the Vatican came from unknown forces, forces that went beyond human comprehension and supposedly resided at the very heart of the Church. With each page, a shiver ran down my spine. It felt like I was being watched somehow. In the deep silence, I could hear only my breathing and the sound of yellowed pages being turned. The book contained bizarre illustrations, half-human, half-serpent figures that seemed to dance around an inverted cross. I began to feel an almost physical discomfort, a sensation of both repulsion and attraction. Was I truly discovering a secret so deep that even the highest ranks of the Vatican did not want to admit it? That was when I heard footsteps approaching. I quickly closed the book and looked around. One of the bishops, Dom Lorenzo, a tall man with an austere appearance, entered the room. He stared at me for a few seconds before speaking. "Mr. Conti, there are books in this archive that carry heavy knowledge that sometimes turns out dangerous for those who dare to challenge it." He gave me a slight smile, but his eyes expressed no humor at all. I knew it was a warning, a polite way of telling me I was treading forbidden ground. His presence made me uncomfortable, but I could not back away. Something inside me told me that if I left it alone, I would never have another chance. Dom Lorenzo left, and the silence returned to dominate the room. Reluctantly, I reopened Codex Serpentis and continued reading. The book suggested that the members of Fraternitas Serpentinus kept hidden symbols in the Vatican's rooms, symbols that could only be seen under certain conditions, like a specific angle or exact lighting. One of these symbols was in the Paul VI audience hall. The next day, I gathered my courage and went to the audience hall, determined to confirm the presence of these symbols. When I arrived, I waited until the place was empty to observe every detail. I positioned myself in a corner and looked at the altar at the back. Over time, I noticed what had once seemed impossible. There, staring at the altar from a certain angle, It was as if I was looking at the face of a serpent, the cold, penetrating eyes and the mouth that seemed slightly open, ready to swallow everything before it. My heart raced. It could not have been a coincidence. I was seeing confirmation of something the church clearly did not want anyone to know. From that day on, my routine was never the same. The feeling that I was being watched intensified. As I walked through the corridors, I had the impression of hearing low murmurs, voices that fell silent as I approached. Dom Lorenzo seemed to observe me from afar, always present in places where I had never seen him before. It was as if he was testing me, waiting to see how far I would go. The following days were a mixture of anxiety and fear. Each night, I slept less and less, haunted by the image of the serpent and the weight of the words in that book. I knew that if I continued investigating, I might find something even more disturbing. After reading about Fraternitas Serpentinus and its secret symbols, I became obsessed with the idea of investigating the Paul VI audience hall. This specific place was mentioned in Codex Serpentis as the central point of many enigmatic symbols linked to this secret order. I needed to see it with my own eyes. One morning, I took advantage of the start of the day when there was less movement to visit the hall alone. My position as an archivist allowed me this kind of mobility, and with a bit of luck, I could go unnoticed. As I approached the audience hall, a strange weight began to form in the air around me, as if the structure itself was warning me to stay away. My heart beat faster, but I continued, determined to see up close what was so special or dark about that place. As soon as I entered, silence enveloped me like a heavy cloak. The high walls and curved ceiling felt almost oppressive, forming an environment of darkness and almost absolute silence. The light was scarce, filtered through small windows that made the place dim, creating shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. I observed the space carefully, trying to understand what made the room seem so threatening. After a few minutes, positioned at a specific angle, I noticed something strange. From where I stood, looking at the altar in the back, the contours of the room formed a disturbing image. The structure shaped itself into an animalistic face, with what looked like two vacant, lifeless eyes staring at me. Worse yet, the altar formed a slightly open mouth, as if it was part of a lurking serpent ready to strike. My entire body shuddered. It could not be a coincidence. It was evident that the design of the room was not just an artistic choice. It was a message, a symbol hidden in plain sight. I felt the urge to back away, but I was too fascinated to leave. The design seemed intentional, and what I saw suggested that something terrible inhabited that space. I wondered who could have approved such a project in the heart of the Vatican. The symbolism was too strong to ignore. While trying to process what I had just seen, I heard footsteps behind me. I felt the blood freeze. I was so absorbed that I had not noticed someone else had entered. I turned slowly and saw the young Father Marco. He was an assistant to one of the bishops, and although we knew each other by sight, we had never exchanged many words. He looked at me with a curious, almost mischievous smile. "Alessandro, what brings you here so early in the audience hall?" he asked in a casual tone, but with a certain firmness in his words. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my composure. "Just archivist curiosity," I replied, smiling slightly. "I like to study the architectural details." Father Marco smiled, but his eyes seemed to evaluate every word I said. "You know, they say this room has its own energy. Some prefer not to come here alone," he said, still watching me. There was something unsettling in his tone. For a moment, I thought of sharing what I had seen, but something inside me stopped me. His look made me uncomfortable, as if he already knew what I had discovered and was enjoying my discomfort. He continued, If I were you, I'd be careful with what you try to understand. There are symbols that were not meant to be revealed to just anyone.